Famous deaths at the hands of a loved one. Marvin Gaye. The fatal shooting of Motown's Prince of Soul, Marvin Gay Jr., goes down in the record books as one of the most famous and tragic deaths in music history. Marvin Gaye was one of the most celebrated artists to have ever graced the R&B charts. On the evening of April 1st, 1984, one day before Marvin Gaye would have celebrated his 45th birthday, he went to visit the Los Angeles home he had purchased for his parents. A heated argument broke out between Marvin and his father. At one point, the son shoved his father, then the father got his gun and fired. Moments later, Marvin Sr. straddled his son's body and fired twice more. His father served no jail time for the murder. Marvin Sr. told authorities he had killed his son in self-defense. He received a 6-year suspended sentence and 5 years of probation. Judith Barcy. The only child of Joseph Barcy and Maria Banco, had a promising career ahead of her as a Hollywood child star. She appeared in over 70 TV commercials and the movies Jaws, The Revenge, and The Land Before Time. She died on July 25, 1988, at the age of 10. She and her mother were shot to death by her father, who then killed himself. Barcy was a heavy drinker and was known for having a bad temper, which led to years of abuse. He constantly threatened to kill them. He even confessed it to his friends. After the abuse got worse in the year before their death, people surrounding Judith, including her agent, got in touch with social services, but they did not act on it. Maria also filed a police report against her husband in December 1986, accusing him of threatening to kill her and of choking her and hitting her in the face. But police found no visible injuries and she eventually declined to prosecute. Roger Troutman. Roger Troutman was a Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter and the founder of the group Zapp. On the morning of April 25, 1999, Troutman was found shot and critically wounded outside his Northwest Dayton recording studio. The 47-year-old has been shot several times in the torso and died during surgery at the hospital. He was shot to death by his brother Larry, who then committed suicide. He was found dead in a car a few blocks away with a single self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Even decades later, the exact circumstances of what happened between two of the Troutman brothers is largely unknown. Some reports said that Roger was just about to fire Larry, who had been the manager of his musical career, and the conversation turned violent. Dominique Dunn. Dunn was the daughter of heirs Ellen Griffin and Dominique Dunn, a film producer, writer, investigative journalist, and television host, and the niece of novelists June Didion and John Gregory Dunn. The trouble with her boyfriend Sweeney began shortly after the two moved in together, just weeks after meeting. Just 4 months after appearing in the 1982 blockbuster supernatural thriller Poltergeist, 22-year-old actress Dominique Dunn was strangled by her ex-boyfriend John Thomas Sweeney in the driveway of her home on the evening of October 30, 1982. She was transported to a local hospital where she was placed on life support. However, she never regained consciousness and died on November 4. Even though Sweeney admitted he killed his girlfriend when police arrested him, he was only sentenced to 6 years in prison for manslaughter and served less than 4 years. Susan Cabot. Susan Cabot was an American actress best known for the films The Wasp Woman and Son of Ali Baba. She died on December 10, 1986 at the age of 59. Her son beat her to death with a weightlifting bar. On that night, the paramedics arrived at the house, finding her son waiting outside for them. He calmly described being knocked out by a man dressed in a ninja costume, who may have also hurt his mother. In his trial, Roman testified that on the night of the murder, his mother's mental state had deteriorated, screaming and talking to herself. Roman also said that he didn't even remember killing her. Her son spent 2.5 years in jail pending trial, before a judge declined to find him guilty of murder. He was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and served no additional time for her murder. Dorothy Strahan. At the height of her short-lived career, Playboy model Dorothy Strahan was brutally murdered at the age of 20 by her estranged husband/manager Paul Snider. The rising star was named Playmate of the Year in 1980. She married Snider in 1979, but the pair was estranged at the time of her murder. On August 14, 1980, the two met on the couple's former West Los Angeles apartment to discuss a divorce. Instead of talking, he shot her and then shot himself. Her naked body was later found raped and beaten with a gunshot wound to the face. Phil Hartman. Former Saturday Night Live comedian and Jingle All the Way star Phil Hartman was murdered by his wife Bryn on May 28, 1998. After reportedly getting into a heated argument about her substance abuse, she shot him 3 times in his sleep and later took her own life. The comedian had reportedly threatened to divorce his wife of 11 years during an argument over her drug use. Bryn also suffered from depression and was on the antidepressant drug Zoloft at the time of the shooting. Shortly after admitting to a friend that she killed her husband in the early morning hours of May 28, 1998, Bryn climbed into the couple's bed next to her husband's body and took her own life. When police arrived, they found Bryn's dead body slumped over that of her husband, orphaning the couple's 2 children. Stephanie Mosley. Stephanie Mosley was an American actress and dancer who appeared on the TV show Hit the Floor. She was married to Earl Hayes, a socialist and rapper on the cusp of the big time. She died on December 8, 2014 at 30 years old. She was shot to death by her husband, who then killed himself in the couple's Los Angeles apartment. Officers said they found the couple dead on Monday morning after a neighbor phoned emergency services saying he'd heard screams and gunshots. When officers arrived at the couple's apartment complex, they heard more shots being fired. Jing B. Jing B was a Chinese martial arts actress, best known for starring in the movies Kung Fu Wing Chun and 3 Kingdoms: Resurrection of the Dragon and the TV series Legend of Shanxi. She died on February 28, 2012 at the age of 28. She was stabbed to death by her billionaire husband, who then killed himself. She and her husband were estranged at the time, allegedly due to her affair with a fitness instructor and their attempt to defraud her husband of over $3 million. The fitness instructor was convicted and imprisoned for fraud after their death. Bonnie Lee Bakley. Though out of the public eye for some time, Robert Blake became a household name again after he was charged with murdering his wife of 1 year, Bonnie Lee Bakley. On May 4, 2001, the couple had dinner at a restaurant, and upon leaving the restaurant, Blake claimed to have realized that he left his revolver in the restaurant and returned to retrieve it. When he came back to the car, he found his wife dead with a gunshot wound to her head. Blake was charged and acquitted in 2005 for her murder, but he was found liable for the wrongful death of his wife in the civil case filed by Bakley's children and ordered to pay $30 million in restitution.